We took our team to Switzerland. It was on night. We had landed in Zurich on
Good.
9/11. We were the first American flight into into Switzerland on 9/11, and so all the press was there to interview the people on getting off, and we didn't know what happened because on flight they didn't say a word. It was what, over 20 years ago, 22, 23 years ago,
Okay.
and we had a great time. We played. Well, I'm sure we played at some of the clubs where you have teams, where teams are playing. So
So you just play regular clubs, right? Not college
yeah,
teams.
in return for having the trip, we had to play a certain amount of time. I didn't want to play. We just wanted to go have fun.
Yeah.
But to make the trip work, we had to play a certain number of places. We did a couple of Germany. I think you can have a trip every 5 years. We did a couple of trips to Germany, and our last one we did was to Switzerland. We had a great time. And I've been there quite a bit, the railroad across the mountains and into Italy, and that was beautiful. And then a lot of times, and I love Switzerland. Well,
No,
I
it's a
do.
beautiful place.
Interlaken area up in there, all those places. Really.
The schools believe that they are much better than in US. They're quite
Could
open about
could
it.
well be.
There is a good educational system. It's much cheaper. The tuition is just around 1,000 francs per semester. The level is good. It's quite demanding because the lessons are from morning until evening, just spread out. It's quite
Yeah.
tough. But we are finding the ways. I did research when there was a COVID. I had 2 years to interview all the foreign students and Swiss students, athletes, and find out what is their daily schedule and see if it's really impossible to make the trainings and competition. And I found out that most of them are working part-time jobs, 15 to 20 hours a week. But in the same time, all these student athletes from different countries were able to work, and they were also able to play almost on a every second day basis plus work. So I said, if we would have scholarships, then it would be kind of the same thing, because this is a major difference in US, that the players don't have to worry about making enough money to pay for the housing and kind of living costs, which here they kind of pay everything themselves. So then I was adding in all these ideas, how to cut the costs, how to use the facilities cheaper, when to use them, because obviously here from beginning of October until mid-April, sometimes you have to play indoors. And most of the indoors facilities are owned by private businessmen. They have nothing to do very often with tennis. During the season, they want to make as much money as possible. So obviously, it's really difficult to find time. But again, students are students, and we can play in non-busy hours in the middle of the day, early mornings. There's always ways. And to play the matches, I had the idea to play on Sundays, because for some reason in Germany and Switzerland, nobody plays on the weekend.
Oh, really?
So my idea was to play the league matches on Sundays. So we would play one match with two teams in the morning. And then right after that, at 3 o'clock, we would start another match. And this way we could finish the whole round in, for example, German conference, East conference in one day. And in another facility, we could have West conference there. So 8 teams could play actually one round in one day.
Wow, wow.
And
I was really impressed with how you described this, Jan. You've done so much work on this. When I was coaching 20 years ago, we could always practice in the afternoon, but they had started having more and more classes in the afternoon. Kids started staying up later and sleeping later, and no one wanted to teach the class at 8 o'clock in the morning because the kids were not there. They'd go to sleep, or 9 o'clock, they'd still be sleepy. So a lot of professors changed their classes to the afternoon. So I know since I've left there, the two coaches, John Whitlinger and now Paul Goldstein, they've only been having, Paul, especially the last 10 years, has only been able to have his whole team together in an afternoon practice for maybe 2 days a week. The rest of the time, it's all individual work spread out during the day. So it's been hard. The nice thing is, you guys visit Harvard, they don't have athletic scholarships in the Ivy League. So they have much the same situation you guys have. But they do have some support from athletic department. You guys have none. So there is no, so it's, I think the only a country I know that's doing it a little bit is really England's doing some work.
Yes.
Work, but I'm not sure how it's structured. But I think
Yeah,
your idea is really sound. We have when Title IX came around, the woman took over the courts, half the time. Then we had to cut out our junior varsity teams. We used to have a junior varsity team, and before you came to the States, we had even freshmen. They couldn't play on a varsity, so we had a freshman team as well. So I was actually coaching 3 teams every afternoon. But then Title IX came about, so we ended up with just getting rid of our JVs, and there was such a backlash of people that couldn't play on the varsity that wanted to play. Couldn't be one of the top 10 or 12 people in the university. That the USTA came along about that time and said, we're going to sponsor club tennis. And they didn't put a lot of money into it financially, but club tennis is much what you have going now, very similar. It's people who we have who would be on our JV team, not as good as people you have in your team, but the students themselves they get no support from athletic departments throughout the country. They run their own practices, the students do. They play their own matches against the schools. They schedule their own matches. They keep their own budgets. They raise whatever funds they can raise. We give them the courts to play on, a certain set of courts, a certain amount of time. And they actually have regional championships and now national championships. And that's been a really great thing because it's kept a lot of kids playing, which the USTA wants, because they're going to get out and get a job. They go into league tennis and they become paying members and due members of the USTA when they keep playing. Otherwise, you lose that whole population of good players because they stop playing for 4 years. They get out of the habit.
Good idea. That's a good project. I've heard about tennis on campus or something like that in the US.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It's been a great thing.
Is. So that's how I think the federations could benefit out of college tennis in many ways. I mean, it's not the same. And I don't know if you looked at the webpage, but my idea is not to copy the US college system nor compete with the US college system. It's just to adapt the college tennis.
Yeah.
It's adapt the college system to these conditions and improve the training conditions as much as we can. And even now, after 1 year, really, the first match of this league was in September 2022. So 1 year ago was the first match in the history of Switzerland. I think we had like 60 or 70 players overall. So it took about 1 year to put all that together, to create the team's identity, to register the teams, because we work as a club. So they have to create the statutes, funding minutes. One person is the president and so on. So they're responsible about the club, that they care. They can
which is great on their resumes.
Yeah, they can use it for their school. That's another step, to kind of communicate with the school so they can get some credits maybe in the future.
Yep.
In some European Union countries, it already works like that for the athletes. It's called dual career. Here in Switzerland, it's not there yet, but that would be the next step for sure. And now we have 170 players, and because my focus was to attract the best players in the country, then even the other players are really motivated to be part of it. And I was able to reach the agreement with Swiss Tennis that the matches count to their ranking. So, for example, if you would have a USTA ranking or NCAA ranking, here in Switzerland is just national ranking. Yep. So every match you play over the weekends, they have to play tournaments, and then it adjusts their ranking depending if they win it or lose against better players.
That's a great move, Jan. That's really important for the kids.
Yeah. I thought, 2 things which were most important were the financing, that the players need help and they need either scholarship or prize money scholarships. I call it prize money scholarships because we cannot afford to give scholarships with housing, food, and everything, because the schools, athletic departments, federation, or nobody's really helping us with that. So I had to fundraise. I had to talk to certain people to support this. So we could afford to have the prize money scholarships, where the players actually, after they finish the match, the winning team is going to receive some money. And it's going to their club. It's going through the statutes. They need to have a bank account. So it's going transparently to the club. And they're supposed to use it to improve the training conditions, pay for the indoor facilities. We obviously help, and I negotiate personally with the indoor owners about the project. And I ask them to give us special price, maybe 50%, sometimes a little bit more, a little bit less. Some of them give us free courts in the non-busy hours, because the students can choose different clubs Zurich is a big city. And obviously students, it has, I don't know how many thousands, maybe 80, maybe 100,000 university students. And they live around the city. There's many clubs, obviously. So I'm trying to give them more options. So it's slowly moving it forward in whatever conditions we have.
Well, I read the website really closely. First of all, congratulations. I really was impressed with what you've done, what you started. And I think the vision is really good, Jan. I think it's something that will grow like it has in 1 year. And I love the format. I love the mixed format of the men and the women together. That's been something I've really pushed hard for in college tennis. We used to have some world team tennis style matches, and people loved it. And we did that with our rival Cal every year. We did one with USC a couple of years. Did one with our professional league those days called the Golden Gators. Billie Jean King, one of her original franchises. I think Larry King owned that one. But it's just really, people love to watch the combined play, the men's and women's singles, and the doubles and the mixed doubles, and the kids love being on a team together. And they really did, and it was a great thing. And I think your idea of that is very, very sound.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, I appreciate it. I was trying to reinforce the game. There's so many similar games to tennis, pickleball. Here it's paddle tennis now, they call it. It's very popular. Badminton, squash, people. I mean, they're great sports, but there is less and less people really interested to play tennis because it's not only expensive, but it's too long, to watch the matches. I mean, I personally watch only really good matches because for me, if it's not my job, to sit there at the tournament and watch my student, obviously, then your heart goes for it. Plus, it's your kind of your job. But tennis is quite long. I think
no
in age of technologies with the cell phones and everything, the kids, they don't want to invest more than like 5-10 minutes into something which will not take their attention. And we have to adjust to that a little bit. We can't fight it, obviously. It's stronger. So that's why my idea was to put the boys and girls together.
So it's a great option, I think. And you say, they don't have scholarships, but they're in the university anyway.
Yeah.
So if they can arrange to do what they're doing, at least with no further expense, if they can arrange to have some coaching some way or other, if they can arrange to have maybe some equipment, or arrange to get their practice time paid for, court time paid for, or have a sponsor that maybe sponsors the league, or different levels of sponsoring one of the leagues, each of the leagues, or the team within the league, or little things, going to the little coffee bagel shop down the street and having them put a little banner up when the matches are played for $100 or something like that. That all adds up. And in the meantime, the students on the team are getting experience in managing their budget, raising some funds, going out and soliciting, selling, to help support themselves and their teammates. And it's a nice thing on the resume to add to their studies when they start looking for a job.
Yeah, I think this is the direction, and big connection between UTL and tennis on campus, because it's kind of self-organized. The students are organizing everything. The coaches are not employed by schools or by athletic departments. But that's another step. I would love them to have at least 2 times a week regular training with the coach that will know the kids and can travel with them and coach them. I think that's very important because the level is very good. I mean, I just talked to Andrew in Harvard, and our players, for example, in Zurich Lions, we are from UTR 12 to 13 point something, easily strong team in Division 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they have ambitions some of my players are getting ATP points. They play futures, 15,000 tournaments. One of the guys just won doubles tournament. So they're like semi-professional athletes. In every, if they would play soccer or hockey, they would be playing professional league. They would be playing second division, for example, where they would be making a good salary. But just by playing tennis, it's tough, So I think they deserve. But
they have the advantage of being in school at the same time, so there's a trade-off for them as well. It's it's a nice thing. So they're going to be in school for 3 or 4 years, whatever it is there, to get the degree, to spend some time doing something other than just studying and just partying in their free time. This gives them a base. It keeps them playing. The federation has a big stake in this because it keeps his kids playing, and some of them do mature and turn out to be really good players. And they'll be playing Davis Cup and or whatever they call it now, and same thing for the women. And so it's great, Jan. I love your vision on this.
No, thank you. Thank you. I try my best. I invest some time into it, which my wife doesn't appreciate, obviously. She's not happy with that.
No, my wife never was either.
Yeah, that's
at least
our
I was
job.
getting paid a little bit, but
Yeah, at least. Yeah, that's one of the things I have to work on to get there somehow. But if you do a good thing and you put your heart into it, I believe it will pay off. So
run. Yes, I agree with you.
it's not one of the things which is motivating me now. After traveling so much, if they are in a college, you spend time with them, you are a family. You were a father for your players, and you had the opportunity to do that. And you had the supportive platform which was allowing you to do that. If you are a coach on a junior tour or a professional tour, you have really thin ice under your feet. And any little conflict or anything from the side, from the parents, maybe they wake up in a bad mood, maybe there is a misunderstanding, maybe they're just crazy, as we all are. Maybe they just make a bad decision, but in one day, all the hard work is gone.
Yes.
And you are paid by the school, by athletic department, and so on. You have some support, which like a football coach, in the team sports. So I can actually afford, if somebody is not behaving well or not performing well, I can sit him out next match. So he has time to think about it. I can actually punish him by doing something, so he wakes up, you restart his brain, you make him understand, okay, you are not the biggest star in the world. But if you are doing that as a private coach on the tour, junior or pro, you have to be very, very careful and political and very often unfairly released, or fired. So that's, I think, what would be a huge advantage as well for the federation, for performance tennis in any country, what the college tennis is bringing to the tennis system, where the coaches actually could enjoy, the passionate coaches, could enjoy this job, being a coach of some team over the year, or maybe 50%, because our league is in a fall and spring semester, and then the inter-club season starts. So I didn't want to interfere with the with the inter-club, because I want them to make the money. I want them to play the good matches, from May until mid-July or so on. So it's kind of, we are filling up the whole year.
Do the inter-club teams have coaches?
They mostly, if you play for some club, they give you a club coach who is club pro, who might not have as much experience to work with the performance players, and sometimes they attend the training or not once a week. But most of the time in Europe, the players just show up and they hit together.
When we played the teams over there, I don't remember any coaches per se on the court. But if what I was getting at is if they're doing this in the summers and they're as paid coaches, then they have time available in the winter, in the fall, and the spring. And that could, if there's some way they could generate, for me, when I came to Stanford paid I started at $10,500 my yearly salary, but they let me use the courts to teach on. And that's where I made my money, with camps and teaching on the side. And so that was more than my salary throughout my coaching career. So I had to be very proactive and always be thinking of ideas how I could support myself reasonably and still be able to do what I love doing, which is coaching a team. Kids love the team. I think that, it's an individual sport. You get the entitlement feeling too many times in tennis. You're the next best thing the world's seen. Parents telling you that, your coach is telling you that because he wants to keep his job working with you. pretty soon they come to expect everything just to be given to them. And so it's really nice, I think, when they get in a team situation and realize that on a team, it's not just you're responsible for, you're also responsible really and accountable to 10 other people, 12 other people, whatever it is. And that's what makes the team good. If you don't have that accountability within the team, then and it teaches them to be accountable. And that's such an important lesson later on as they go into the work environment. You think almost like some of these companies like Bain and Company or McKinsey might want to sponsor a college team for a small amount of money just to help train them. Or maybe they could give some of these students internships who might be interested in going into business, something like that, and give some money to a particular club or program, which part of which would help fund the coaches. I don't know. But the team aspect of it is, as your teams have found out, so much different than playing this lonely individual sport where everyone's calling the lines badly and everything else, and being accountable to your teammates is such an important concept after you get out of college, and tennis can really help further that. And kids love it. As you know, it's a great opportunity, the bonding thing.
I'm grateful for being witness of kind of this process of growing from last year, which we have like a pilot season with 5 teams. We had the East Conference teams mostly, and Geneva joined us. They had to travel far. We went there, I tried everything to make it happen so they will be able to play.
Does Boston have universities?
Yeah, they have a team now.
Well, they do. Good.
Basel, Lausanne, Geneva, and Bern, capital city. They have their 4 teams, and that's called West Division, French-speaking division.
Yes.
Then we have 4 teams in a German-speaking East Division. We have 2 teams in Zurich because we have too many players here, so we created 2 teams, and they're very competitive. They're actually the top. Then we have team in Lucerne and 1 team in St. Gallen. So these are the biggest. These are the biggest universities. Also, the cities are kind of large enough, so it's very complex. My idea was to make it easier because obviously our schools here in Switzerland don't have indoor facilities. Some of them have outdoor courts, and they want to provide it to like grow the game. For the hobby players, they're not too motivated to give us the courts for training, but we are working on it. I mean, I think it's a process. Once they will see, the communication with, it's called Swiss University Sports Organization, which is the umbrella for all the unisports organizations in schools. Because they provide the sports activities, lessons for all the students and teachers. So we have 2 divisions right now, and to make it easier, so the schools don't have to organize their own facilities, because this would be disaster. I knew that for the students, young guys, 19-year-olds, it would be so difficult for them to communicate, to negotiate. So I decided to find 1 great facility in the middle of the East Conference and 1 in the West Conference, and this way make a deal with them as a partner facility where we will host all of the matches. So each team can travel a little bit, but it will be kind of in the middle, and I'm taking all the responsibility and all the work off the shoulders from the teams, because these are young people, and they're just learning how to manage the club. So there I'm trying to help as well and learn from it. This is making things easier. And obviously we play on Sundays, and the owners of these facilities are really helpful, and they give us a good discount because they still make more money than having an empty facility on Sunday.
Yeah.
So my idea was taking 3-4 courts for a whole day and pay much less, but still more than they would make, and kind of find the middle way. And that's how we kind of scheduled these facilities to play the matches. So for us as an association, it's cheaper and it's much easier to organize, and really 1 person can do a lot of stuff, So I was able to run the whole league myself last season with all the players. Everything, organize the referees, organize the courts, the refreshments, everything, banners, sponsoring. I found these little companies that help us with the products, like protein energy bars for the matches. Red Bull gives us some stuff. We have Fila locally, they give us 75% discount. So the players have really nice clothes.
Beautiful.
And we print everything on it. So the first season I was really helping all the teams, not just Zurich Lions. It was a pilot team where my idea was so the league would own one team in the way that it will be a pilot team where we can test what is possible to do in Swiss conditions, and then share the experience with the other team captains, fundraising, anything, coaching, how to find facilities for trainings, how to maybe organize some pro-am tournaments to raise the money, all different ways.
I think that's a big thing. One of our most successful fundraising, and we had to basically fundraise for all of our operating costs, other than the base salaries of the coaches, which weren't much. But we had to raise almost all our funds, and our most successful avenue in doing that was taking people in our area, in your case, in these kids' case, it'd be their particular clubs, and working with the local pro at the club to put on, or just people love to play with the kids, who are good. In the club, the better players won't play with the lesser players. But if you're playing with, if the team can donate some time, an hour, a couple of times a week, to play with the members or something, and the members pay a small fee to do that, that doesn't come in some way, doesn't get into what the pros would be making. You put a player and 4 or 5 people on 3 other players on a court and have them play doubles, and your team member helps them with the doubles and positioning and signals or whatever. And we found that was a great way. And we couldn't do it all day, every day, but we would do 3 or 4 events a year where people would come in for a half day and play with the team. They loved it. And then it spread to kids, and then the parents would play for the kids to do it. But you have to be careful. You're not going to take away the pros' income. Maybe you can help supplement it in some way. But that would give it, or a way to trade off for court time, something like that. But that was a big, big thing for us. And then in that group of adults, there would always be 1 or 2 who had a little more money than others, would be willing to do some special things for that group, for the team and players. Having a dinner where people are invited to join with the team for a dinner, or a play day where they have dinner with them afterwards. And they pay for their own dinner, and then for a player's dinner as well. Sit together, have a beer or 2 together, and those kinds of things go a long, long way. And the kids are busy already, but what they can do there, and it's good contacts for them in the future for jobs. It just worked incredible. Our girls team just got back from our annual Thanksgiving trip. We take to Hawaii, and they had about maybe 75 people with them who paid a fee to take part in a clinic, but which made it possible for players' transportation to get to Hawaii. But that wasn't the thing that was really good. The thing that was really good is, out of that, there'll be 3 or 4 individuals who step up and want to help more, because they like playing with the kids this age, the 18, 20-year-olds. They liked having these kids as a model for their kids. And it also gave them someone better to play with. When we're talking about, very average adult players for the most part, maybe some are playing leagues, but not most. And they just loved playing with better players, especially that age group they can relate to. And mixing up the coach with the coach and making mix on the courts and stuff. That was the best thing we ever did, and really provided the nucleus of where our support came from in the long run.
Oh, so you were talking about the beginnings, right? When you were in Stanford, where it wasn't so organized.
All the way through, the beginning, but all the way through. And we just got a ton of support. A little event like that would raise a few $100 every time we did it. You can't do it all the time, but then from that we'd have some other events that turned out to be pretty good and more major. And by that time, the club members knew the players. They wanted to come out to support them. But it was a beautiful mix of in our case, public players. We'd go out to clubs in our case and do exhibition at clubs and play with their members. And be a fee charge, which we would keep, but also stimulate the interest in the club tennis for the pro there. These people would want to take lessons afterwards, so they could call up the pro and get their lessons. It was a win-win for everybody.
No, I think it's a great idea to interact.
But it takes some time from the kids. They have to commit to help themselves, and it's also a good lesson. You're not just getting everything as a handout.
No, I agree. I agree. There is always few individuals which understand right away that you are helping them and it's beneficial to them, and some of them have to step over their ego a little bit. But that's again, it's our job to show them, and eventually everybody will understand how they can benefit. So yeah, this is great idea to do the doubles, mixed doubles, club events. We did some doubles with our supporters. So I was inviting our players to play with sponsors and supporters and play singles, doubles, mix up, and get to know their names and see what they study and what are their interests. Because I mean, eventually these guys where I said, that's you when you were 20.
Yeah.
It can be a great surgeon, it can be a great businessman, it can be maybe just a great non-profit guy, doesn't matter, a great human being. But that's kind of you there. You love tennis, he loves tennis, or any other sport if you're passionate with sports. Role models for the other students as well. When somebody sees that I'm working hard to be a biochemist or doctor or something, and this guy is doing the same, and plus that he's training every day and he's playing a great tennis. Well, maybe I can go to gym, as well every day.
I agree. And I would call it a touch. And the more people that your players can touch, or the more people who can touch your players, the more support you can gain. And you can get an amazing amount of support with not too much effort. And that one-on-one contact or that group contact, if you have a sponsor that's big enough, if it's not a coffee shop, but if you have a little bigger sponsor where they're employing 100 people, you give a clinic for the whole company in exchange for a certain level of sponsorship, a free clinic for anyone and their kids who wants to come. And you can easily do that with double up people on a court and do a nice thing there. But sometimes it takes someone to organize it, like a coach or something like that. Maybe there's a way to earn some money for that. Half the money goes to the coach or something. I don't know, but just touches are the ones. And Greg was really good with this in Boise, really good with this also. And I think Harvard's done a good job with this.
I remember I played Boise as a player when I was in Lewis Clark in my second school. Because I transferred, I couldn't go to Division I, so I went to NAIA, and we played Boise State. And I remember until now, when we walked to the facility, I've seen this guy with like so much energy around him, tall, skinny guy flying around. And there was a lot of fans, and I'm like, we have good matches. Our coach is great. He's trying his best, but we're in a small town. And here you have like, I'm not sure, maybe there was some music, he was like talking to everybody, and you could see that they know each other, they support each other, these families, and they were watching all the matches, and that was great. I remember that until now, since I was 19, that was impressed me, that energy around, and I think that attracts the people. It's a hard work to get there. I mean, to start from the zero, it's not as easy.
Not many teams have someone like Greg. Believe me, it's a great advantage when you do. He took that program, did a great job with it.
So, but you see, it was right away. I could see that. I remember that. So it's kind of like a virus, it transmits this positive energy, and it just keeps growing. So I love that. And I think that's the way. That's the way to find at least one or two people like that, to be connected with the clubs we have here. And it can be a club pro that is very passionate and loves the idea, and he's having his income, from doing the lessons. But he would love to do this for another 30% to add out of 100% of his yearly income.
And those people are going to take, if they like it, they're going to start taking more lessons from him in the long run. He's got to look beyond his own hand. There's a lot of things that can happen from it for him.
It's a great benefit of that is that, the parents of the juniors are always complaining that we don't have enough good sparring. So we don't have good enough similar age and gender players in this area that could play with my son or daughter. But now if somebody calls me when I'm coaching some of the top juniors, I say, all right, I have WhatsApp group with 35 players that I can text right now and ask them who is available to play against under 15, under 16 national player in the region. Before, it was difficult for them because the coaches didn't want to didn't want them to go to play in different club or different academy because they were scared. They were overprotecting them. But
true.
But that's the story everywhere, natural survival. But now I would like to create these regional centers where the teams are training, and every Tuesday would be a junior evening. The communication between the teams and the local coaches would be open, so they know that they can approach them and they can join them, and they can come and train.
Would the National Federation take this on as a project to help you?
I'm trying to talk with them. We have some.
This might be something because they might because it would help with the junior development.
Yes, no, definitely. This is, when I started with this project, I called it a pathway for juniors, because
good, perfect.
The biggest problem was that when the players, juniors here, reach 12, then the parents, and they are motivated and talented enough, they started to be much better than the rest of the kids that play just, for fun. And it's many of those. And it's less of those that are playing on a performance level. Now, if you want to keep that number and grow it, you need to do something. Otherwise, it will be less and less of the performance players. The club coaches are going to have still a lot of work because they will be teaching the ladies, doubles, and these kids that just play for fun, like a piano once a week, which is great. But the performance sport will slowly die out if this is not going to change. Because I've seen it, I was working with them, and I could see that out of 8 great 14-year-old, 13, 14-year-old juniors around the lake, and each of them playing in different club and academy, now we have 3. Now in 2 or 3 years, we have 3. And I predicted that because I've seen it in different countries where I was working. But if you are in the box, you kind of don't see that. You're just comfortable with doing, you are comfortable with doing what you're doing. You don't want to complicate your life and life of others. So this is happening. And I said, this is only the 14, but then it's another benchmark, which is 16.
Yep.
Because the tennis is, you have to play more often, which means it's more expensive and it's less attractive for the parents. And many players get burned out, and it's less and less actually the sparring partners for those players. Older they get, and you have to go to more tournaments, further tournaments. It's harder to finance. So I said, okay, I'm going to make a rule. So each team in UTL can have the top juniors, which are better than R1. That's like, let's say, UTR 11 and a half or so. And these top juniors from the local area can join the team. They can practice for free, and they will be eligible to play the matches. But in one match, each team can have only one junior girl, one junior boy. No more. And they can rotate. They cannot play in the same time, but they can use them, and they cannot play in playoffs. Because playoffs obviously is going to be the best 2 teams from each conference, and it's a college competition. So, but the teams can still support and be supported by the top juniors in that area. So if you have somebody,
I think you mentioned this on your website. I didn't understand what it was, but that's good to know. That's really good.
Yeah, this was my idea. So if some parent calls me and he says, hey, I would like to maybe train with these guys, which are like UTR 12, 13, and my son is a great player, and we have to travel to the national center, and it will be much easier to play maybe once, twice a week here, and have this experience to play in the league, because the league has a very good quality already after 1 year, and that was my goal. The juniors will feel privileged to be part of it, and they have experience, and they get the points for it. So actually, if they beat somebody good, it will count to their Swiss ranking.
That's really good.
So that's why I want to have the juniors be part of that, because I'm actually, we are doing this for juniors. Every single player you recruited in your team in Stanford was a junior half year before or 1 year before. So this was kind of a pathway for the juniors that are not going to go pro, or maybe they're thinking maybe they don't have the money to travel pro. That's why I think this platform is fantastic, and it has so many benefits that the federations, tennis federations, could use into their advantage.
I think the USTA has really finally embraced more and more the last 20, 30 years, college tennis. And it's been great because it seems what happened. These guys and gals are going out there and doing pretty well on the pro tour. Even though they're not playing full time, they're getting enough training to prepare them for the pro tour. And having the foreigners come in the United States has been helpful because it's made the United States players better. So it's been a good win-win thing.